You're listening to the first 50 gigs, Guns N' Roses and the Making of Appetite for Destruction, featuring author and historian Domenic Priore.
As soon as the posh Hollywood vibe ended in the late 50s, they tried to get, like, all those clubs were booking in now bebop jazz, which means black artists. And Ernest E. Debs, county supervisor, thought, well, this is, a depression of the area. That's what they were thinking. So they felt that they were going to depress the economy of the area. They thought that was going to cause the rent to go down so they could sell that land and build high-rises. And two of them were actually built. The 9000 building and the Playboy building were both originally supposed to be banking kind of interests. They wanted to move Spring Street, the financial district of LA, to the Sunset Strip so that it would be closer to the money of Beverly Hills. But they didn't expect, like, the Beatles to turn the folk and jazz thing into, like, this diverse progressive music scene that was going to color the world. No way.
So what led up to the riots of 1966?
The Strip got more popular than you could ever imagine. It was like, we didn't have arena rock in the 60s. The only place you could see somebody like the Beatles or the Rolling Stones would be the Hollywood Bowl. You got to see bands in small nightclubs. If the Supremes or the Temptations or the Miracles came, you would go up to a nightclub on the Sunset Strip. If Them came, or some of these groups from England, like the Young Rascals came from New York, and they played the Whiskey. They didn't play some arena, they played a club, but they played 6 or 7 nights. If you can imagine the popularity of the rock scene, like during the post-Woodstock era where people were going to arenas, all of those people, instead of going to arenas and being jumbled into one place, they were all over the Sunset Strip, going to the Sea Witch, Pandora's. It was just everywhere, and it was way more than Ernest Debs could handle. So he got some of the property owners. They kind of became the mouthpiece in the newspapers for the old-fashioned Sunset Strip, which barely existed. So it was like two different sets of businessmen. The old-fashioned restaurant owners of the Montgomery Sunset Plaza era, or the nightclub owners who wanted to have, like, revenue from all these groups and all these kids that were coming in. They were the ones who really were behind this whole idea of getting rid of all the teenagers on the Strip. And they had no idea where they'd put them or where they would go. So there was a lot of physical beatings and harassment in November of 1966. There was 5 nights in a row where the kids came up to the Strip and, with the signs and as depicted in the Stephen Stills Buffalo Springfield song, For What It's Worth, singing songs and carrying signs. That's what they were doing, saying, hooray for our side. And the thing that was the big trigger, actually, when they really decided to move in on the kids was in May of 1966, when Andy Warhol brought The Exploding Plastic Inevitable and The Velvet Underground with Nico to the Trip. And they had this show, which was light shows, and it had part of it was Mary Warnoff and Gerard Magallana, like with whips and stuff, and it was just way too much, and the police shut that show down after 4 days. They busted the Googies, which was at that time called Gigi's. They busted at Cantor's. There was just all these little busts going around. Finally, the kids got tired of being harassed, and so they formed this, organized sit-in demonstration on November 11th, 1966. And the curfew really was the excuse for the cops to come in and said, okay, you're a bunch of teenagers, and you're here past curfew, and there's thousands of you, but we're going to start swinging billy clubs. But the kids kept on coming back. There was like thousands the first night, thousands the second night, and then it was Monday, so it was like 80 people showed up, and then the next night 200 people showed up, and then Wednesday another 1,000 people showed up, and it looked like it was going to be another crazy weekend until Mayor Sam Yorty came down and said, okay, we'll handle you kids. And they handled him in a secret meeting. And that's when they put the kibosh. They closed almost all of the clubs, closed Pandora's Box, where the scene of the riot actually was Pandora's Box. Its boss just handed in their license. They, that was a big operation. That was the old Ciro's. And they just said, here, the Trip closed. Yeah, all these important places up on the Strip just ended.
To watch the entire episode and access the full series, bonus episodes, and image galleries from Mark's extensive archive, join our growing community on Patreon and subscribe. If you've enjoyed this preview, then like our video, comment below, and subscribe for more.